Yeah, I like that word you use. It's not what you eat, but it's what you assimilate, and that's the key. And so what I do is I say, some people, some of these foods they taste real good, and they taste sometimes even better than the real thing, but they're counterfeits, and you don't want to be caught up with that. And so some of the things, one of the ones that's a big one is people who are calling themselves vegetarians, and they're using these meat analogs. So they like the feel and taste of meat, but they are using this counterfeit meat, which is actually, and a lot of times, worse than the real meat.
Welcome back to another Real Talk with Dr. Jim Sharps. It's a pleasure to have you with us again, Jim. For those of you that are familiar with the channel, what we aim to do with this series is really demystify areas of health and nutrition from the perspective of original medicine. We know there's a lot of noise out there as it comes to personal health, and we really aim to give a really clear and factually based perspective in original medicine on these topics, so you can be more informed and make more informed health choices. So Dr. Jim, thank you as always. Great to have you with us and sharing. As you will also know, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, we do kind of look at different topics, and we do take a lot of direction from our community in terms of the topics to cover. So if you do have a particular topic on health that you've been researching and you're unsure when it comes to alternative or natural, hey, what's going on here? Leave a comment. We do review the comments, and we do genuinely look to put that into our content schedule when we're looking to create videos like this. So do engage with us. We are watching, we are listening, and we'll put that in our videos in our future video schedule. This week we wanted to cover the 10 commandments, Dr. Jim, but not the ones from a religious context. We wanted to look at that in terms of natural health. So perhaps, Dr. Jim, if you can just start off, what are the 10 commandments of natural health?
Okay, yes, this is a fun presentation that I like doing. I started it years ago. I was invited to do a weekend series of presentations, and also to do the sermon while I was there for the weekend. So I did it, I think, about 4 or 5 different presentations, starting from Friday all the way through Sunday. And the sermon was using the 10 commandments as the moral commandments as the paradigm for the 10 health commandments. So basically, kind of going through each of the 10 commandments, which churches know, and then say, okay, if this was to be put it in terms of health commandments, then this is the way I would present it. And it was kind of fun. There were a lot of smiles. It helps people to kind of understand it. It basically sets the foundation that just like there's moral laws that support our spiritual health and vitality, there are also natural and physical laws, and God is the author of both the moral law and the natural laws. So it was kind of a fun thing to do, and then we went through the 10 commandments, and that was the whole basis of the whole thing. So basically, it's that using the 10 commandments of the moral law as a paradigm and as a foundation for the 10 health commandments for promoting outrageous health and vitality.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Jim, for that. Just as we kind of move on in terms of the questions, I think it's interesting that you draw that parallel between a moral and a health law. As we know from original medicine, all of those elements are interconnected. But really digging into the commandments, the natural health commandments themselves, what does the first commandment say, and why is it relevant for us in terms of a health perspective?
Okay, well, the first commandment is, well, the moral commandment is, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have false gods or other gods before me. The first commandment of the health laws is, I am the master physician, thou shalt not have other physicians before me. And so it goes through that point, and it basically talks about how God gave us these natural laws, and if we abide by them, we do really well. And He is the master physician. He gave us those laws, and they're all biblically based. And it basically is saying there are a lot of different health systems out there, a lot of different health professionals. The ones that God approves are those that are in harmony with His original medicine health laws, if you will. So that was the whole basis of that. So He is the master healer. There are a lot of different modalities, a lot of different systems out there, and those that are in harmony with His laws, those are the physicians that we should be speaking to and looking for guidance for our health and vitality.
No, that's very clear. So yeah, no, thank you for that, Dr. Jim. I'm noticing a bit of a theme that might emerge as we go through, but what is the second natural health commandment?
Yes, the moral commandment is thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness thereof. So the second health commandment is thou shalt not make thou shalt not have any graven foods or any likeness of foods, any counterfeit foods. Just like there's a lot of counterfeit gods, you don't want a whole lot of counterfeit foods, as well as counterfeit systems of health if you want to enjoy, health and vitality. So it's basically counterfeits. There's counterfeit gods, there's counterfeit foods. So you want to avoid those. And that's kind of a fun thing, a fun way of looking at it without, being maudlin and long-faced, and you can kind of laugh and joke and have fun while you're going through these different health laws.
Yeah, that's clear. And I think that's an important point to make around not becoming too somber.
Yes.
Go into some of these subjects that we can explore these topics with a smile on our face and a laugh in our heart. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned counterfeit foods earlier. Could you maybe expand on that finally as we close this video, Dr. Jim? What are some of those at a very practical level counterfeit foods that our bodies struggle, not to put words in your mouth, assimilate? It's a phrase you use very often.
Yeah, I like that word you use. It's not what you eat, but it's what you assimilate, and that's the key. And so what I do is I say, some of these foods, they taste real good, and they taste sometimes even better than the real thing, but they're counterfeits, and you don't want to be caught up with that. And so some of the things, one of the ones that's a big one is people who are calling themselves vegetarians, and they're using these meat analogs. So they like the feel and taste of meat, but they are using this counterfeit meat, which is actually, in a lot of times, worse than the real meat, in terms of all of the substances that they put in it, et cetera. So counterfeit or analog meats, pasteurized dairy products. The whole food is good, but once you pasteurize it, you destroy some of the elements in it. Sugar substitutes, that's a big one. Sugar, we need carbohydrates, but a lot of these substitute sugars, these substitute sweeteners, that a lot of times a lot sweeter than sugar, lower in calorie, but they have very serious effects on our central nervous system, on our digestive system, etc. A big one that fits in that category are all those genetically modified foods and hybridized foods, things like canola oil, which stands for Canadian oil. It's kind of a hybridized rapeseed plant. Even certain medicines or drugs, they're counterfeit herbs. The herb is where the healing is that God gave us, and sometimes what we might do, and sometimes it has some value, but at times when you take out that active ingredient and you isolate it from the other cofactors, they can be very harmful to the system. So those are some examples. Oh, another really good one is, you're taking the foods and you beat it up so bad by microwaving it. So then you have these Frankenstein foods or these counterfeit foods that has the look and taste and feel of food, but it's not in the best interest of long-term health and vitality. You can do it once in a while, but you can see how you keep engaging that. Just like if you keep going to the false gods of the moral law, you are weakening your right relationship with God by consuming these counterfeit foods on a regular basis, you can see how you have deficiency in your nutrients, and it can lead to deterioration and dysfunction of organs and destruction of organs, which can manifest itself in a whole host of named diseases. So that might be a long way of explaining, but you want to avoid counterfeit health systems, and you want to avoid counterfeit foods.
That's very clear. And maybe just a final question that's jumped into my mind, Dr. Jim, is something that we consistently bring up on this channel. And I'd really advise, if this is the first time you're kind of hearing the phrase I'm about to say, check out our video series, our playlist on it. RBTI, Ream's Biological Theory of Ionization. How does RBTI integrate with what you've just said around kind of counterfeit foods? And as we'll go on in future videos to look at the remainder of the natural health commandments, how does RBTI weave into that?
Yes, thank you for that question. And RBTI is the mathematical formula for perfect health. And so it has these 5 different categories of health from A through E. As you go away from A, in terms of those numbers, you're going further and further away from health and vitality. And the way this relates is, if you follow these health laws, that is the best way, the fastest way, and the most effective way of realizing that A zone, that healing zone, that perfect zone of health and vitality. So that's how it relates. Basically, when I do this, I talk about how you want to be able to have a standard, a way of determining how well are you doing with your health system, your diet program, whatever. And the point I make with these health laws, with these health commandments, is this is the best, the most effective way, and actually it's the only way of getting into perfect health and vitality. So that's how it relates, and it gives you a standard, it gives you an analytical tool. So first of all, see how far you are, and then there's a fun way and a measurable way of seeing how, as you pursue these health commandments, if you will, how well you start getting to improved health and vitality and getting into that perfect sweet spot of that healing zone where you experience none of those named diseases. So that's how it relates. So I appreciate you asking that question, because a lot of people say, well, how do I know? How do I know it's doing right? Or you have a system now to show you if in fact the system or the foods are moving you, either keeping you the same or worse, or improving your experiencing of outrageous, what I like to call outrageous health and vitality.
Awesome. Dr. Jim, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for sharing with us. We really do appreciate it. Do definitely check out the playlist on our channel that goes over RBTI in more depth. It's really informative, a really powerful tool, analytical tool, as Dr. Jim advised. But until the next one, we'll see you then. Hope you've enjoyed the video and the content. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We really would appreciate it, so more people can have the same content that you've enjoyed today. So until the next time, bye for now.
Bye.